whereby human beings, in fact, have been quite at odds with the entire situation. I'm not talking about abductions per se, but most certainly there were many situations of a large number of people who were not indoctrinated, but who were actually given various forms of electronic technology implanted within them for the sake and favor of having gifts. Their gifts of spirit suddenly materialized. And this is, in fact, well recorded and documented, I understand, in certain situations. And indeed, we have encountered those ourselves and have had to try to help various families within those given situations of exactly how they can possibly or potentially extricate themselves from these kinds of situations of mass interference.
Well, I get the impression that there's friendly groups that are here to try and help us move forward as a race, but there's also a group here that are kind of in alignment with the more negative, self-serving groups, if you like.
Yes, and they are really largely, by and large, governed by the Raptor races. And although, thankfully, you don't actually have any present at this moment in time, they are very close. And they are the beings that you really have to be careful of.
Are these the beings that I think David Icke mentioned as the Reptilians?
They are a form of, yes. They come not from the same stock as those reptilians on the Earth. In fact, because, of course, that was an indigenous situation of cell mutation that happened over periods of millions of years within the cycle of the Earth. So naturally, if it's something which happens on a genetic scale throughout the universe, then yes, there are certain breeds of raptor who have a similar cell structure, similar body presentation, if you like, but their chemical variant can be completely different, purely and simply because most of, or if not all, actually are inherited from completely different planets which come from very diverse accompaniments of chemical and biological state and mutation, purely from their own home planets, depending upon where they are from. And there are over 500 different species of raptor at this present time.
Yeah.
That's individual species, not necessarily their subspecies, and how they have broken off and formed into their own relationship groups.
Well, I would imagine even within each species, you're going to have good and bad. If someone was to come to the human race and analyse us, it would be quite harsh to say that all humans are barbaric, when quite clearly quite a lot of us are actually quite good, aren't we? So I guess you've got that same situation in any species.
Yes, I totally agree with that statement, my dear friend. Yes, absolutely. Except for the fact that actually in some raptor races, and they number probably more than 300, they tend to have little or no feeling, or rather an absence of emotional content.
Yes, no, I've done quite a lot of research on that, and I do understand that they don't have the emotions. Are they very psychic as well as a race, but lacking emotional feeling?
Well, psychic, that depends, really. They're very manipulative, generally, and actually only generally have one particular avenue of upon their horizon, which is, in fact, to just take and conquer, however that enables them to become manifest. And I suppose you could say, as a spirit being having a physical existence yourself, dear friend, that may even in itself, its own statement, make various spanners in the works as to how then such a being could be ratified, as it were, by the energy of that which is God, to say, well, how can you unleash such a thing within the whole cosmos of the universe? When in actual fact, they are clearly beings up to virtually 90% of mischief and actually just looking out for their own gains and their own needs. The point is, however, that you would see in the wild state of your own planet that there are many beings who actually they don't necessarily know or realize why they are behaving the way that they are, but they just simply do because of the organics and the chemistry and their instinctive natural behavior brought about through the mutation process, and simply because of their ability to manipulate at times the different forms of environment that they may be living in. And exactly the same, dear friend, exists within these different beings too.
So the picture I get is that there are many friendly, spiritual, very spiritual, highly advanced. Not to say that being highly technically advanced is actually spiritual, but I think there's a harmony that comes with being spiritual and then using technology in a spiritual sense rather than using it in a pure materialistic sense. But I get the picture that there's groups here that are having invested interest in either keeping us safe from these beings, or maybe here to help us evolve. I mean, what do you feel the picture is?
Yes, I would concur with that, my dear friend, to a certain degree. There are certainly those present around and about the Earth, as I had said previously. There are actually many species at present who are relating in one way or another to different human events and other human beings. So that this means to say that there are vast differences, yes, of course, between different races, but they still appear to be in exactly the same way as you would regard ants or grasshoppers or whatever it was, other beings within the species within your the mutation process that has happened upon the Earth still exists throughout the entire universe, and many different beings regard one another in the same light. So you're either food, or you are friendly, or that you are something of an adversary. So the situation is, of course, that we have present all three of those groups. So the situation has to be that you take great care with whomsoever it is. Now, there may well be, dear friend, for you as human beings in living in a physical world, that what you experience is in fact perhaps a certain loving, beautiful vibration from some alien being who does not necessarily announce themselves, or maybe announces themselves in a certain way. Doesn't necessarily mean to say that that will be the organic compound, the organic structure of who they really are, does it?
No.
Because part of what you have to do as a human being is use your discretion, is use your ability, clairvoyance maybe, or maybe something more than that. You have to be able to test whatever is coming out, whatever is being broadcast or created in communication. It may well be all divine love and flowers and all of that. And they may say all of the right words for intonement. Oh, there is a really loving being and a great and beautiful light.
Yeah.
And still be deceptive.
That's correct. Yeah. Same as humans, really.
Yes, exactly. Manipulation. And for some, whereas you may have a very important rationale within yourself because you've tested it so well and everything, but I'm talking about that you have to be able to test it for a period of years, really, in order to fully understand and evaluate whether these different situations are correct or not. And I am merely simply suggesting here that that is something that tends not to happen. Human beings just rush at it like a bull at a gate, hoping that it will actually break the gate. The point is that this situation can at times be very detrimental, at times can be very beautiful experiences for the human being, for the consciousness, and all of that. Maybe obtaining wonderful and beautiful, healing, divine light. Yes. States of bliss, yes. Quite so.
Can you elaborate on what happened in 1947 around the Roswell incident?
Elaborate, my dear friend, is simply to say that various situations, I understand that it was two different craft structures had basically crashed.
Yes. And
that doesn't mean to say, friend, they were bad pilots.
No.
It's actually that they were suffering because, I understand, the mechanisms of the craft that they were in, one in particular, had broken down. And it meant that they were actually then subject to Earth's atmosphere.